So I played AC2 in 2022, and it's the most nostalgic game ever created. The year was 2009. Your mom picked you up from school and popped some bagel bites in the oven, then hand-delivered them to you as you climbed 500 towers, collected 9 million feathers, and developed a really bad Italian accent.
My name is Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
Even if your entire personality is hating Ubisoft games, odds are you have really fond memories of this one. It's easy to look at this game through rose-colored glasses. No, seriously, the entire game has this reddish-orange shader on that makes it look like a Renaissance painting. The combat, flashy and satisfying. Ezio was so likable that he became an instant video game icon. And the soundtrack. Ezio's family has reduced even the manliest of men to tears. But that's how we remember the game, not how it feels today. I played AC2 in 2022 to see if it still holds up as one of the greatest games to ever grace us gamers. And I wish I had a more controversial take here, but it's still very, 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 very good. Assassin's Creed 2 starts off right where the first game ended, except Lucy is on our side. For now. She tells Desmond to hop in the Animus so she can show him what childbirth looked like in the 15th century. You know, as a prank. Then they escape Abstergo and meet up with Sean and Rebecca, who look like they belong to a hip 90s hacker group. This is where I was reminded how well these old games weave both stories together. The modern day and the Animus story, they depend on each other. We play as Ezio in Renaissance Italy because Desmond and the gang need to find the apples of Eden in modern day. If you followed Assassin's Creed at all in the last 5 years, there's this great debate about whether modern day really matters. There's one side who swears against it and another that swears by it. And then there's everyone else playing the games and having a good time no matter what, because video games are supposed to be fun and we don't need to spend 24/7 debating video games because it rots our brains and drives us insane. Everyone needs to calm the f down. I'm so tired of this. It's okay. If there's any evidence for the side who loves modern day and thinks it should play a bigger role, you can find it in this game. You find it in these creepy truth puzzles. You find it when Desmond suffers from the bleeding effect. And you find it at the very end, when it smashes the fourth wall and Minerva starts talking to Desmond through Ezio and the Animus.
Enough. I do not wish to speak with you, but through you. You are the prophet. You've played your part.
This scene still gives me shivers. But then again, saying this as that guy at the party, Assassin's Creed 2 is fun as hell without the modern day. And that's probably why your friend who's married now and has 2 kids played it back then and loved it. AC2 was fun because it let you play as Italian James Bond assassinating bad guys in the Renaissance. There are no barriers for fun, and it's still so good for that very same reason. Sure, I could spend this entire video nitpicking a ton of small things that could have been better, but I don't want to do that because they didn't bother me at all. Except for one thing. One thing did bother me at all. The Battle of Forlì and Bonfire of the Vanities DLCs. This stuff happens right in the middle of the most important part of the game. Why do they force you to play this right after Ezio becomes a real assassino? Before this point, AC2 still has some of the best pacing in an open world video game ever. Every single solitary main mission matters. There's no fluff, no filler, nothing. The plot is cruising along at warp speed until you get smacked with 2 to 3 hours of this shit. Look, it's great to know what happened to the apple. It's great to see Caterina Sforza do whatever her thing is. And it's great to meet Niccolo Machiavelli and spend more time with him, especially since he plays a huge role in Brotherhood. But this part sucks on replay. It kills all of the momentum of an otherwise amazing story. But I'm not going to dock this game for forcing you to play DLC that should be an optional memory you can access after the main story. Once you get over that speed bump, you immediately get back to the good stuff and realize AC2 is a masterclass when it comes to pacing, characters, and developing an overall arc. So much cool shit happens in the course of 10 hours of main missions, and all of it matters. You meet so many fantastic characters with so much personality. Leonardo isn't even on screen for 2 minutes before you fall in love with him because of the writing and the performance. I used to hate the first hour or two of this game because it felt like this slow origin story. It's like watching Uncle Ben die in Spider-Man for the 5 millionth time. But now I've realized just how important this is to making us like Ezio and care about his family. It develops him just enough for us to give a damn when his entire family is slaughtered. And it sets the stage for what is, for the most part, a narrative about revenge. Ezio picks up a lot of important lessons on the path to becoming the ultimate assassin, but it's an intense desire to bring his family justice that drives him and the player forward. In 2022, it's very cool to criticize revenge plots. They're too simple, they're boring, whatever. I think it's more about how it's done than, just revenge bad. Ezio is motivated by revenge, and it makes perfect sense with the structure and the gameplay. He uncovers the Templar Order, so he dismantles it by assassinating targets one by one. There are side quests, there's plenty of exploration to be done, but by God, if you just want to play this game for the story and nothing else, there are no barriers for that. Assassinating main targets is always fun. There's new challenges thrown at you, and each new city, new area delivers something new to look at, and these places, they're just gorgeous. That is so refreshing in 2022, where most open world games, they're this soupy, samey, long drawn out exercise where you're wondering why you're doing what you're doing and who you're even talking to and why you're farming for crafting materials. I've become so exhausted by Ubisoft's modern open world video games, and it's because there's so much crap in them. They're just full to the brim with bloat. Assassin's Creed 2 does not have that problem. Parkour in this game feels like that really soft pair of underwear you're always excited about when it comes around in your underwear rotation. It's not too restrictive, but it provides, good support while also giving you flexibility. Man, I should get an underwear sponsor. Movement in AC2 is so fun and so fluid. It definitely has its quirks, but this time on this replay, I swear to God, I did not run and jump off of a building to my death. Not even once. Playing this game today reminds me how important the city game is for parkour. Tight alleyways with buildings very close to one another, ropes to connect far buildings, and plenty of room to make your own choices. This is what you get when you have a city game. And yeah, you can certainly hold down RTA and face roll your keyboard to climb, but if you don't explore what you can do with the tools you're given, then I just feel bad for you. The catch ledge mechanic in this game is amazing. You can jump at what looks like nothing and then direct your arms out and catch a ledge. This isn't even scratching the surface of what you can do in this game with parkour, but once you realize what kind of freedom you have to do things like this, it shows you the magic of parkour and why it's so necessary for this franchise. And then I have to give a special shout out to the jump grab move that you unlock in Venice. A couple hours into the game, they give you a new move in parkour that changes the way that you climb. In terms of pacing and sort of like keeping things fresh, this game is just full of great ideas, and this is one of them that I love. Free running is not just for exploration though, you need it to play a friendly game of hide and go seek with your Templar buddies. It was pretty simple in Assassin's Creed 1, but after Altair's shenanigans, the Templars realized they just need to look for the guy with the white hood. I mean, it's really obvious. So then they invented wanted posters. They also made sure to remove all of those rooftop garden things because that's where the assassinos hide, obviously. You just have to check in those. Unfortunately for them though, Paula of the fine establishment La Rosa Colta invented crowd blending. Hiding in plain sight is one of the core tenets of the Creed, and damn it, it feels so good in this game. I don't care how silly or stupid it might seem as an idea. Obviously you can see Ezio in these groups, but it looks cool. I love doing it. The cycle of killing, gaining notoriety, then clearing your wanted level constantly keeps you on your toes. It forces forces you to interact with the world in a way that still no other game franchises do. Being able to blend in crowds and buy courtesans to move with allows for so many interesting stealth opportunities. Oh, and of course, it still feels amazing to nail a double hidden blade assassination from above. But when you have to fight, combat strikes a very nice balance between, oh my god, I am so powerful, and wow, this actually requires my attention. You can't chain kill people like Brotherhood and Revelations, so you have to use specific tactics to take out baddies. It's not just counter kill combat like you might think, but it does have its quirks. For example, you can grab almost every enemy type and slit their throat even when they have full health instantly. It's easy, but hilarious and satisfying. You can throw grabbed enemies off of rooftops to one-shot them because Italians can't swim. Easy, but hilarious and satisfying. You can skewer enemies like a kebab if you're behind them. One-shot kill. Easy, but hilarious and satisfying. Plus, the weapons and health feel really reasonable. You know, there's no massive health bars or tanky bosses. I mean, if you stab a guy in the back while he's not looking, that should probably kill him, right? I mean, it just makes sense. I stand here before you today, not as a prophet, but as a gamer who believes easy can still be fun if it's hilarious or satisfying. Assassin's Creed 2 is both of those things. I mean, don't tell me this isn't satisfying. I know some of you will, but you know what? You're just wrong. Every assassino needs a tool belt full of creative methods to kill their targets. I always love how these older games treat, smoke bombs and other things like that as powerful consumables. They cost money and you have a limited supply because they're really strong. Using a smoke bomb to escape or just to get a bunch of free kills is satisfying. Sniping guys from long distance with the hidden gun is satisfying. These feel like interesting ways to tip the fight in your favor, and it makes me wish the newer games worked like this. Hiring groups isn't necessarily a tool, but it kind of works the same way. You can hire thieves to bring guards away from a location. You can hire courtesans to distract, and you can hire mercenaries to fight. Just like tools, these are extremely overpowered, but it just feels good to have the power to do stuff like this. You can manipulate the world and the environment and situations in ways that make it feel real. Remember when I said this game looks like a Renaissance painting? Well, here's Da Vinci's Last Supper. Look at it, study it. Okay, so here's both of them side by side. Assassin's Creed 2's color choice, it might come off as a byproduct of a 13-year-old game. It's old, it's just an old game. But you feel the way you do about Assassin's Creed 2 because of the way this world looks. And I'd go a step further and say the art direction here is timeless. It wasn't trying to be realistic 13 years ago, so it doesn't look like one of those stupid 13-year-old games that were trying to be photorealistic. It's stylized. It went for a certain direction, so it's a relic of its time in the best way possible. And please, for the love of God, don't download mods to reshade this game. It's supposed to look the way it does. What are you doing? Another reason you feel the way you do about Assassin's Creed 2 is the music. It is simply one of the greatest video game soundtracks of all time. For a lot of games, I don't even notice the music. It just fades into the background, and for some people, maybe that's right. The music isn't supposed to really occupy your headspace. But with Assassin's Creed 2, you can't play this game without noticing it. You can't separate the music from the game, or the game from the music. I'm sorry for you guys listening to this video because I'm probably forcing you to drop everything you're doing, quit whatever game you're playing right now, and booting up the game just because you're listening to this music. It's one of the biggest and best reasons why Assassin's Creed 2 holds up to this day. And it's why I make daily sacrifices to my God King, Lord Jesper Kid. One of my favorite memories about AC2 is Monteriggioni. It feels like I spent endless hours in this place exploring and, of course, renovating. In 2022, though, Monteriggioni is still special, but the economy is completely busted. I didn't expect Ezio to be richer than the Medicis after like 4 hours of gameplay. Pretty soon, I bought the best weapons and armor, and honestly, I wouldn't have blamed Ezio if he just wanted to quit the assassino business and retire for good. Returning to the villa to collect income isn't what I'd call fun, but it's a routine that that I'm more than happy to do for the billionth time. Still, it's fun to walk around this place and just to have like a physical home base for the assassins. I think it really drives home the assassin fantasy that, yeah, this is like a brotherhood, you know? This is a family thing, and Monteriggioni is a symbol of that. I'm convinced that Petruccio exists just to make you feel bad about those damn feathers. Your mom won't even talk to you until you collect 100 of them. It's kind of f***ed up. Side content is ridiculously good in this game, still. First, you have the beat-up events, couriers, races, and assassination missions. I like these because they don't take too much time, and they bring you to parts of the map that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And then you've got the assassin tombs and Templar layers. Guys, please excuse me if I get a little emotional here, but these are the best. They're like these little dungeons that are completely unique from one another, and the reward for completing them is either a ton of money or one of the seals that you use to unlock Altair's armor. It's a fun activity that gives you a great reward. I know a lot of times when we talk about modern side quests, you know, it's like deliver a story with really good dialogue that's not a fetch quest, right? That's how we, you know, mark that, yes, this is a good side quest. But Assassin's Creed 2 shows us that if you're just giving us something fun to do that doesn't have all that boring, endless dialogue where you're choosing and you're like asking optional questions about some character that you're not even going to talk to again. I mean, this right here, I think, is how side content should be. Put the control in the player's hands and just let them have fun with the systems that are in the game. 13 years later, these are still amazing, and I do think this is how side content should be. To me, what makes Assassin's Creed 2 one of the best video games of its time, and still to this day, is fun factor. Nothing in this game grinds your experience to an absolute halt. It never feels like your big brother yanking the controller away from you. There's no long, drawn-out dialogue options or annoying crafting. There's no endless skill trees or pointless level gating. It's an old-school action game where you play as James Bond in the Italian Renaissance. You get to stab dudes 5 million times with wrist daggers and leap from buildings into haystacks like somehow it doesn't hurt. You're at the center of a power fantasy, and there's really not much else to say. Assassin's Creed 2 in 2022 is still so much fun. That is it for me, guys. I just want to say thank you so much for your patience with this series. I know you've been asking for, you know, Assassin's Creed 2 in 2022 for a long time. I like to space these out because otherwise I just burn out because I played these games a million times. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. And as you know, Brotherhood is the next review, but it'll be in like a month or two. We'll see. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.